So welcome back to Signal. It's exciting to have you back. As you know, today we have an exciting episode with Tiago. For the ones of you joining for the first time, this is the format where together with Ramon, we curate a bit the noise and we try to bring the signal. We feel there is a lot moving, especially at a time where technology and many other moving pieces make the world very uncertain, but also a big opportunity for reinvention. And we meet every week to discuss a bit of the trend in the AI, future work and technology. So without further ado, we keep it very, very casual and to the point, without many filters. So Tiago, welcome to this episode. I leave the floor to you. Give us a 30-second, 1-minute rundown of your journey so far, and then we jump into it.
Thank you so much, Andrea. Thank you, Ramon, also for this invitation. I'm Tiago Santos. I'm Vice President at SESM HR, HR software, all-in-one HR software. But I'm what I would say a people connector. This is how people define me. I've been in the HR sector for more than 15 years. I've done my way in recruitment. I've been HR director also. I've been CEO of a couple of companies. But what really defines me is connecting people. So this is what I do, what I enjoy doing, and it's my purpose, professionally speaking.
And you're very humble, but you are, I think, one of the, if not the most influential person in HR in Spain. There's a lot of communities and people following you on different angles.
Yes.
Tell us a bit more about that. Like I think, we share this belief, but what's your belief on the future of communities, and what is something that is going to be more relevant or less relevant with AI?
Yeah, more than the future of communities is that the future of humanity, it's in communities, basically. Because, we are social animals, so we need to be together in order to progress, in order to evolve. And it's true that AI is changing a lot of things right now, but we do need that people touch, that human touch. And I always like to ask AI any doubt that I may have, but asking to that human intelligence that we can create and have in communities, it's even much better, no? Because asking an HR director about an issue or a problem that you may have right now, and the information that this person will give to you concerning and having into account the experience that they've gone through, I think is really important and it's really relevant. So both things combined together, I think that's the future of communities. No,
it's a layer of trust, right? That you sometimes trust Claude and ChatGPT, but there's certain questions where you need another layer of human validation adds some value, right? I think that's where communities play in, on top of the fact that we simply love to be with other people. I think that's a very human thing.
Exactly. It's pretty much about being there than that, if you know that some other people experience the same kind of challenges that you're living right now, it's very important for you, their feedback, no?
I
think the you can have also.
The experience relates also to the emotional bonding of talking to someone. I think also sharing the pain and struggles, not only an AI model that agrees with you and supports you. It's, I think it's part of the feeling of being understood as well, which is something you don't have with AI, of course.
Exactly. Well, step by step,
we're getting there.
We will get there, definitely.
Moving in a bit into your topic, which is HR and recruitment in particular, that's a topic where you have a lot of expertise. Tell us, what's changing in the world of recruiting with AI? What is that has changed in the past 1-2 years, and where are you seeing the biggest trends?
Oh, many things are changing, actually. Some years ago, it was still a game of volume. Recruiting was kind of a game of volume, but now it's not anymore. Now it's about quality. Now it's about knowing how to sell your value proposition. Now is about also having the best tools you can have, because you're looking for efficiency and you're looking for good results. And there are a lot of tools in your table, but you have to decide fast, decide quickly. And it's not also about the number of tools, it's having the right tool. Efficiency definitely is the key word right now in recruitment.
Mm-hmm. And since I think all of the tools, like we have a tool on recruiting, and there's many other tools on recruiting, and we all, I think, are talking about the AI features. Where are you seeing the most valuable use cases of AI, and where do you still think that the human is playing a key role? Like if you project your, to the future yourself, maybe a couple of years, what are the types of tasks where you think HR teams will keep doing, and what are the types of tasks that will be outsourced to the AI?
I mean, I think that AI works brilliantly where humans are slow. I mean, when they are slow, where they are inconsistent also, or even overwhelmed. I mean, it works in screening large volumes of profiles, for example. It works also identifying patterns across millions of data points, because it's impossible for a human being to do so. Automating outreach and follow-ups. That follow-ups, it's a pain in the ass, and it's something where most of recruiters tend not to do properly, and also structuring information so recruiters don't start from zero, because when you don't have the best tools, you have to start from scratch, start from zero, and you're losing your time. When you have great tools, then you can structure information in a better way. I think that in those areas, basically, AI is not the future; it's already better than us. So we have to rely on AI on that part. Where does it break? It breaks exactly where things get more human. It breaks in basically understanding ambition behind job titles, for example. I mean, that is different. You need that human touch. You need that conversation. In detecting cultural misalignment that doesn't show in data most of the time. In navigating on ethical dilemmas, for example, you also need that personal and human side right there, and making also the final call when there's no clear answer. And most of the times in recruitment, there's no clear answer. So you have to take a step forward and make the decision. And this also comes, I think, with an uncomfortable truth that AI doesn't remove responsibility, it amplifies it, basically, because you have to take control of the decision. You have to be responsible of the decision, where part of the information is from your own judgment, but also other part of information is from the interpretation that you had on the data that AI provides to you.
Yeah, I think on this point, Tiago, you're very spot on. Actually, we noticed at Nova we run the assessment of our community. It's through a tech digital first process, and we have introduced a layer of agentic feedback to our internal assessor, and the bias reduction thanks to just that back and forth or having more data into the decision has been tremendous. So I love that you see AI technology and human in synchronicity or in synergy, and not one or the other, because that's the key.
No, it's perfect complementarity. I mean, they have to complement each other.
Mm-hmm. And for those recruiters or maybe early stage founders that may listen to us that will be, recruiting talent over the next few months, what is the kind of the recommended tech stack? Like, what are the tools that you see are being cooler in the different areas, right? Because there's the sourcing, then there's the ATS, then there's the interview part, then there's might be note takers. Like, what are the ones that you see are shining brightest, or that you hear from your communities of HR leaders that they are buying more?
I mean, all tools that really have AI behind, and the good AI implemented behind, not ChatGPT behind the tool, which was the first step and the first phase that most of the tools that were saying we have AI, this is what they've been doing, and it's okay. It's the first stage. But for example, now at Sesame also, we are providing AI support in a conversational way, where you can start asking our software about, okay, give me an analysis on the turnover that we have in a company in the last year, and the dashboards start appearing. I mean, this kind of way of using data that shows you on the spot in the right moment, this is what people will need, basically, is a tool that adapts to their needs. And I've also seen that because I've tested Nova Recruiter. I went through the platform, and you see, for example, this feeling of control over complexity. And I think that this is what makes AI combined with a tool really interesting, is when you see a platform that can map hundreds of millions of profiles and instantly give you a talent score, as Nova Recruiter shows to you, and that what you're really seeing that is not just data, is data, but in an organized way that can provide you insights that can help you making a decision. What you're seeing is clarity, and this is what people are looking for, is clarity, because otherwise you can be overwhelmed with the amount of data that you're managing. Actually, we tend to say that our company is data driven, but basically what I see in Spanish companies most of the time is companies that are data obsessed. They are obsessed with data. They gather a lot of data, but then they don't know what to do with those data. Data is important so that you make a decision, so that you know whether you want to go left or right, whether you have to take a decision today or tomorrow, and which decision it could be. And I like when you have AI in our recruiter, for example, because sourcing used to be intuition driven, and now it becomes insight driven. Same thing in other tools that are using in the proper way AI, and that changes completely the conversation inside our teams, because instead of asking who do we like, we start asking who actually matches what we need and why. So that shift is basically allows us to be powerful, and this is why AI is so important when you have it in the tool. So whether it is sourcing or any other moment of the lifetime of our candidate or our employees, the important thing is that AI gives you clarity on decisions and helps you deciding. This is what is most important, and that's my vision, actually. Otherwise, it's just another tool
that makes your life more complex, right? Because HR, the problem with HR is, I think, the responsibility is broad typically and touches many things in the company. And therefore, I feel that a lot of HR teams are a bit overwhelmed with lots of tools, lots of AIs, and they typically make their life so there's not only easier, but rather harder. So I like what you said about tools that would leverage AI to simplify something and make it, and free me time to do other stuff that is actually more relevant, rather than simply consuming more data and gather more data to do nothing with it.
Any tool just makes sense if it makes your life easier and better. Otherwise, it's just another tool that will consume your time, your energy, and this doesn't make any sense at all, which is normal. I mean, it's normal because the market is full of new tools, and it's also legitimate that anyone wants to create a new tool because they think it will help. But what I also miss a lot is that I'm in the other side most of the time. I'm managing teams, and I think that some people that are developing some tools, they've never been there, and it's important. And I as you said before, I've created a community of more than 3,000 HR leaders, and they have their challenges, their battles every day, and they are basically obsessed in making the right decision faster, but without losing control. And that's something important. It's that they really need good tools that work and that can adapt to their daily work, not just a guy that had a great idea and think that tool can be introduced in the companies. It doesn't work like this. you must watch the companies, know and make your benchmarking, understand what are the pains, what are the needs of HR leaders, and then create a tool that really addresses their challenges.
Yeah, I think there is a bit of a battle or a tendency where every company is becoming an all-in-one HR because they started from a pain point and they expand the value because they have observation. So you can see that maybe with Factorial or many others, maybe even Sesame as you define it.
Yeah.
So I see there is maybe a competitive advantage for those who have conquered the market earlier and now expand, or the opposite. I don't know your take. It's better to be lean and focused or to integrate and expand?
It's never an easy question, because one thing I'm 100% sure is that it's difficult for someone to be specialist in every field. When you try to be specialist in every field, at the end you know a lot about a bit of a lot of things, but you're not specialist. But it's also true that for a company, I don't want to have 10 tools at the same time that are not integrated, at least. Same thing, you don't want to have a mobile phone with hundreds of apps. You want to have those apps that are really useful for you. It's exactly the same thing, because you cannot open 100 apps in one day. Same thing in HR. Obviously, the dream of having HR software that is really all-in-one, it's fantastic. It's brilliant. And Sesame is trying that. Factorial is also trying that. Persona is also trying that. It's normal, okay? But it's true that each of them are better in specific fields, no?
Yeah. No, I think you mentioned a keyword, which is integration, because from the day one, integration with ATS was what client asked us and everybody. So I think if you can deliver a specialized tool that integrates seamlessly so it doesn't become a headache, I think you can overcome some of those key objections indeed.
Well, today we are very excited because we're launching Nova Recruiter to the world that, as you know, was in private beta. Only a few companies trying it, and a few people that we invited like you to try the tool. From your perspective as an expert, like, what did you like the most, or what resonated with you that probably has been using LinkedIn Recruiter for many years, to do the sourcing of the top talent that you needed to hire?
No, I think you have to test by yourself to see that, as I said before, it was I really had this wow moment when I first saw it, and I have to say that I don't rely on new tools by the very first moment. I have to test it, and as I said before, one thing that was really interesting for me, for example, to be very clear, because you have to test it, otherwise you cannot see it, is the talent score. When you can talent score millions of profiles, it changes completely your experience, because it removes one of the biggest inefficiencies in recruiting, which is guessing. And before, sourcing was like searching in the dark with a flashlight, and now it's like turning on the lights. And that's what I feel that you've done, no? But there's a very important nuance, which is that talent score doesn't replace judgment. It focuses it. It tells you where to look. And this is very important, because most of the times companies are overwhelmed, because you go to LinkedIn, you see a lot of profiles. Obviously, the good profiles don't apply to your job. You have to go for them, no? But you don't know where they are, whether they're good or not, or they are just good in selling themselves, no? And this distinction, for me, it's very important, because the danger is not using AI. The danger is delegating thinking to AI. And here you have what at least the perception that I have right now is that it's a trustful tool that organizes very well everything, and then you can start dedicating your time to those candidates that actually you feel that are valuable, and you can start having conversations right away with them. So you feel that in a very short period of time, you start having really good candidates. And that, for me, it's the difference. Otherwise, and I've seen hundreds of recruitment processes that you start talking with candidates, and you go through it once again, and you never find a good one. And then your motivation just goes down, and you're probably thinking there are no such candidates in the market, then you just think they're unicorns and say this won't be possible, and then you just don't find it. So it's very important that this first run, you make it very fast and you start having really good candidates very fast. It motivates you, because there's a curve where that if you go for 2 weeks and you don't really find a good candidate, then you think that you won't reach it anymore.
Yeah,
so
you lower the barrier of quality. Totally. I think that the talent score is probably one of the things that is more unique about Nova and the way we also see ourselves against competitors. And you also mentioned one thing that I believe was a good decision from a product perspective, and is that I think you HR leaders, you want to have control, right? So you trust the AI, but maybe not all of you trust the AI in the same parts. Like I'm seeing people maybe like you that like to do the search, that like to see the talent score, but like to make the judgment. But then you like to maybe delegate the messaging part to the AI. There are others that are the opposite, that they would trust us a lot in the shortlisting and the filtering, but they want to craft their messaging a bit more specifically, by hand. So I think there was a good product decision in hindsight to put this human in the loop, as we say, so that the AI may do everything for you, but it might only do one part, and you're satisfied with that because you like to do and put in more human touch to the other, right? And yeah, I think that was one of the good decisions, because we're seeing a lot of other competitors that are more AI or human, but it's not AI and human, and this human in the loop. I think it was the right product decision, and I think it's showing in the value you guys perceive.
Yeah, it must be a combination and in different proportions, because the hardest thing when you're preparing and developing a tool for HR leaders is that each HR leader tend to be different.
Exactly.
Different things, and that's the most difficult part, because it's very hard for a tool to really reach an hyper customization aspects and reach. We also feel it at Sesame, but it's hard. But nowadays it's possible, and I think that in that sense you've made a very good decision from the very first beginning. Let's see how it goes, obviously, and I'm pretty much sure that you will even improve with feedback of the first users, and it's very important also this first part where you have those beta users that give you feedback, so that you can even be better. Although the product, I must say, and I'm very reluctant when I first see some new tools, but it was really, really good.
Thank you
for feedback.
Before we move into the news, I wanted to bring in another topic, which is the ethical part. And where do you see that AI would never kind of enter, or where do you think that AI should not enter in the decision process making of HR?
I mean, it's very difficult to draw this red line, no? But I think that AI should never. Well, it's never say never, but I think it's difficult that AI goes into the very final decision to hire someone. I think that whenever you use AI, you can decide whether it's in a short part in the beginning, whether it is almost till the final decision, but the final decision and the validation, I think that it should always be human based, and having into account all the information that AI gave to you, because hiring is not just a business decision. There's also this human decision within hiring, with also long-term consequences. So AI can inform you, AI can suggest you, AI can even prioritize, but it should never decide. That's my point of view right now, or at least the final decision. Okay, I would also be very cautious on the fully automated rejection processes, because there's always a human validation that should be there. Also, black box models with no explainability, decisions that candidates cannot challenge. I mean, if a candidate cannot understand why they were rejected, then the system is not fair. And for me, that's also very important in terms of ethics. And if it's not fair, it's not sustainable, And at the end of the day, the future of recruiting is not about being faster. It's about being better, but without losing our humanity. And you have to reach that balance, That's
I agree. I agree. And I think maybe just to add more dystopian perspective, it might be that for, let's say, high volume, less qualification roles, there might be an AI who takes decisions because the
risk is
opportunity cost, exactly, the risk is lower, and they optimize with evidence. So maybe imagine companies who need to hire hundreds of delivery, logistics people, or all of that might be. But I agree with you on, let's say, the more white collar. Given the evolution, maybe in 1 year time, we might shift that perspective. But I agree with what you said.
So because of regulatory reasons in the EU, I don't think you can make hiring decisions as of today, at least. And I think going back to one point you mentioned, Tiago, there's the accountability part, right? The problem with AI today is that there's no accountability. If the AI makes a mistake, the accountability is on the person using the AI, So, and that's why your responsibility, as you said, is larger, not smaller, by using AI, because you can do more things. But it's you. If there was a bad hire, you are the one responsible. So, yeah, I think for now that's a good red line. We'll see in the future.
Yeah, I'm pretty much sure that this may change, and my perception will definitely change. I mean, it's been evolving so fast that things may change. Yeah.
Totally. So in Signal, we are lately discussing a lot of news on AI labs. So maybe we can start there, because the world of big labs is, changing by the minute. And starting there, as always, our dear friends at Anthropic are at the center of news. So this last week, they released Opus 4.7. I've been using it in the last few days. I personally didn't notice a super big difference for my work, which is not producing software, but apparently is, a little bit more intelligent than the previous models. But where it seems to have a clear edge is also on the aesthetics part and on the visual part. And Claude and Anthropic, or through Claude, also launched Claude Design, which is attacking what was the bottleneck only a month ago, where software became cheap and software engineers were going very fast. Design was not going that fast. Apparently now with Claude Design, any engineering team will have immediate access to, let's say, the design system, and therefore be much faster. I don't know, Andre, if you have been.
And it's quite powerful. I've played with design. The LinkedIn post that I tomorrow publish would have an image done completely with Claude Design. And the reality is that it's a big shift compared to previously, where you already had an MCP to Canva, where Claude would provide, let's say, a blueprint, which wasn't bad, but the level of accuracy, I was impressed. I just took screenshots of previous company LinkedIn posts, and I asked him to absorb the design style, and simply by writing, the output at first was incredible. And then you can draw and leave comment as if you would be on Figma with a collaborator. And the second iteration, it gets better and better. So I'm very excited about it, because not only for product, even for social media, we have one designer in the team, and Manuela is overwhelmed by requests from all teams. So it's really an opportunity, and I'm very excited. Let's see how it scales, but very promising.
It's fantastic to see this competition between AI LLMs, and basically it's about who's most reliable, because I have access to at least 5 different, and what I want is obviously not just the fastest one, because obviously when when you're using any AI tool in terms of any LLM, you're looking for something very fast to answer you a question, to give you data, to produce some kind of content. But it's not just about being fast, and it's not a competition on who's smartest. It's, for me, a competition on who's most reliable, usable, and safe in production. No, and in this sense, Claude is really surprising me very, very much in terms of the quality. So that's it's fun.
They've won the biggest market share, and I think there is a tendency where the switching cost in between models, given the interface being so simple, in the past 6 months, I've shifted from OpenAI. Then I had Gemini a couple of months, and then Claude. And there is pretty much no barriers to switch. Of course, now with Anthropic, you're building a story of yourself, but that can be exported and brought.
But those skills are .NBs that you can put into ChatGPT tomorrow, right?
So it's an open race. There is not going to be a definitive winner.
My own belief, I think, at least for companies like ours, that we are still small and that we have the Gmail or the Google Workspace suite, is that at some point we probably will switch to Google. Like the moment Google provides us with a tool that is as good as Claude, we're not going to stay with Anthropic, because the reality is that we already have the email, the Google Drive and everything. And Google is particularly well suited on the distribution layer, and they also now have TPUs, right? So they have also the machines, like the metal, as they call it. So my bet is that long-term companies like us will probably move to Google, but it's a race today, and
many things will happen, and we cannot foresee that. But yeah, it's true. I'm also starting using some kind of aggregators where you can use different
models, no?
Yeah, exactly. But one day I'm super happy with Claude. Then there will be some adjustments and some new features in Gemini, and I will go for Gemini again. I don't know if at some point we will turn back to ChatGPT or not. Depends how it goes. But yeah, it's great. It's like the fight to go to the moon, and I think that's, for us as users, it's something very positive, because every week there's a new feature, there's something new. And what for me it's very interesting and important, whether you use ChatGPT, Gemini, or Claude, is that the use that you have right now, it's very different from the use that you've done 1 month ago or 2 months ago, and not even talking 1 year ago. No, it's unbelievable.
It's a completely different arena.
Really short right now.
And you mentioned, Tiago, one thing that I think is the reason why Anthropic started to grow is that on the B2B, exactly, they had more penetration because they were more reliable. But they have moved into this new way of doing marketing that is always shipping. They ship 3, 4, 5 new things every week. They stay on top of the news, on top of the news, on top of the news, and that's driving a lot of growth. And actually, in terms of market share, I was reading that ChatGPT's market share came up to 69% when you take B2C, which is the largest. Now that's gone down to 45%, because basically they had a big chunk of developers. All of those have moved to Claude. I think they're now starting to move back sometimes to OpenAI with Codex, but the shift has been amazing. And actually, apparently, Anthropic this last week has received competing offers from venture capital at double the valuation they had 1 month ago. Like 1 month ago, they raised at 380 billion with a B. Apparently, they are now receiving offers that are at the same price level as OpenAI, which is 800 billion, which makes sense because they are doing already more revenue and growing faster. Probably today, Anthropic is a little bit more worth as a company than OpenAI.
Yeah. I've read this piece of research that was done by Gallup very, very recently, because we have seen that in the US now about 1 in every 2 workers have AI at work in a daily fashion or weekly fashion. So the penetration is increasing tremendously. But then when they asked executives across US to report if they had any measurable impact on productivity,
that's impossible.
Basically 90% said they couldn't find any evidence of increased productivity at the bottom line, which is a big question on whether AI is being able to push companies' results forward, or it's making our life easier, which is not necessarily the same thing.
No, I mean, the perception is that it's making our life easier. Obviously, the perception will also tell you that it will increase your efficiency. The thing and the truth is that you didn't even have time to measure it. It's the truth. I mean, but well, there we go again. It's always a perception first, and then you will find data to.
I think it's a matter of change management as well, huh? Because if you go to smaller companies, I think we are seeing the impact faster. Big companies, they have a first big challenge of just educating their employees, changing the way they behave.
Exactly.
That's very challenging. Only 2 episodes ago, Tiago, we had with us the winners of the Nova 111. That is this list we do of the most talented people in a given country under 35. And we had one winner coming from a startup founder, the other winner coming from consulting for leaders. And they were clearly, seeing a very different reality where maybe you that are, in the tech space and us are very excited to test Claude and Claude design and blah, blah, blah. But then in the corporate sector, things move much, much slower, and probably the polarization of productivity has never been as big as it is today. Like you have people producing 10 times what they did last year, people that are basically doing exactly the same type of work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to increase the gap between companies that
exactly.
Doing
more pieces of news of the week. There was the CEO of Salesforce publishing about headless 360. So basically, Salesforce finally seems to be moving away to the per seat pricing, which is one of the big challenges, that the AI is bringing to SaaS companies, where if you have expensive per seat licenses, now with agents, you could basically buy way fewer, but with the agents, utilize them more and share them across teams. And that, of course, it's tough for software companies to manage. And the fact that Salesforce, which is the leader in SaaS probably, or one of the leaders of SaaS, is moving to this usage-based pricing, or closest to usage-based pricing. They have a thing called Agentforce, that is basically you're able to leverage Salesforce through an MCP, through a CLI, through an API. Changes the whole industry. And I think this also makes me happy of our decision to price Nova Recruiter directly like this. Like we are shipping, we shipped today the first MCP within the industry of sourcing. That means that you can source from Claude, that in other tools in the space like Juicebox and others, you cannot do that. Like this seems to be the way. And I think this is a big dramatic shift in the way we all consume software.
True.
Any other news, Andre, from your side? I have plenty. I mean, one that made me laugh, but it's showing another technology trend which is related to robotics, is that there was a robot for the first time break the record for a half marathon. So you can see this robot running like crazy and beating human by 6 minutes. Just a year ago, that same test was leaving the robot way behind humans. So seeing the robotics exponential trajectory, crossing that with AI starts entering that area of the Anthropic report that was considered safe, which is everything related to manual tasks and physical effort to become accessible to automation. So I think that was one that made me definitely laugh. And the second one, this is not really laughing, but related back to Anthropic. You have heard about the battle in between the US government, specifically Trump and Anthropic, because they refused to use AI for unattended war decisions. And after the initial ban, now they're back at using Mythos within the National Security Agency, which is this model that is very advanced in terms of cybersecurity. So it shows that even the US government, after putting a fight, it's abiding by the best technology out there. So I think
interesting, because at the same time, I think it was Palantir, saying something like contributing to national security is kind of a moral duty of companies. It's interesting because if you put yourself in the shoes of OpenAI, that went for the Pentagon contract, which was big, and the whole supply chain. So they thought they were going to win. Like now, Anthropic is kind of beating them from all sides. I don't know, of course, what Sam Altman is feeling, but probably it's not being stressful days at the OpenAI headquarters.
Yeah, I think one of the stickiness factor, even when models would be switchable, I think it might be some values attachment where you feel like you are supporting maybe the more just or the more courageous company. And I think Anthropic is playing very well on this. They took a very brave stance worldwide and saying we do not abide to the US government.
It was a marketing strategy in the end, no? I'm not sure that this guy, what's his name, Dario, is that much better than Sam, but he's being smarter in the marketing game. It was a great marketing strategy.
Yeah, and even the Super Bowl ads, they've been done, everything. They might have the best model on marketing.
Totally, they have the best marketing mind, at least. Moving on to funding news, some news that I believe are a bit more worrying. Maybe is we discussed about polarization of productivity. We have seen the biggest polarization of funding in the last quarter. It was the biggest quarter ever for VC funding in history. But if you check which funds raised money, there was 5 firms that raised 75% of the capital from LPs. And there were 5 companies as well, raising something like 70-80% of the capital from the VCs, right? Of course, OpenAI and Anthropic were 2 of them, which, it's also putting, I think this will, if this continues like that, this will put society in a complex debate where these companies are becoming too big to fail, no? And they are harnessing more and more power. But they're still private, right? And a lot of our lives and production is running through them. I think, we probably see some kind of, there'll be a time most likely where society will face the power of these firms, and probably, somehow they have to either pay more taxes, distribute wealth. That there has to be something, but I don't believe that society will just let the companies be just more powerful than states. I think they're already probably more powerful than many states, but the race is simply going in the same direction. It's becoming even more so.
I think on the counter side of that, talking about VC funding, these last 6 months, I was reading this figure, about 800 million euros were invested into in real life companies. So everything around communities, think of, getting to dinners with strangers like Time Left, or even Tinder invested into a niche segment of dating. There is a VC fund dedicated only to nightlife that was powered by Jägermeister. But it's really interesting to see this polarization also of topic. On one side, AI acceleration, on the other, humans getting closer to each other. Because I think in the future, maybe if AI goes to work, we need to meet in communities at some point. So it's funny to see that there is interest also on the more human side of things.
Totally.
Yeah.
One more good piece of news from my side on the VCs.
Tiago,
sorry.
No, I just wanted to, because I always bring the human side here also, as I represent human resources now, and about this concentration on AI found companies. My question is, will there be money for non-AI companies from now on from the VCs? Because it's true that I think that there will be money for companies that use AI to transform an industry, definitely. And obviously, nowadays, businesses with real revenue and not just a narrative, because till some years ago, it was possible to raise money with a good narrative. Nowadays, I think that's completely impossible. And what VCs are looking for right now are models that really solve pain and not just trends, no? So I think that there will be less money, and we've been seeing it in the last months, for nice to have products, for generic SaaS without differentiation, for companies competing on features instead of outcomes. But I think that there's a shift now. Investors are not looking for good companies. They're asking now, can this company win in an AI-shaped world? Basically, that's the question that they are asking right now. So bad news for those that were developing something without AI at this moment, at this stage. No?
Totally. Because these in real life companies that Andrea was mentioning, I think they leverage AI to make the human experiences better, no? So I think it's an interesting take. This whole services, that Sequoia has been talking about for the past couple of months is the same. Like companies that are not delivering products, they sell a service, but they do it through AI to make better margins, more scalable. So yeah, I think that I buy a lot on those two trends, let's say, as probably very relevant areas of opportunity for investment. I was going to bring another AI fundraising, which I believe is good for the future of Europe. That is this company called Euclid. That is a chip company that is trying to compete with NVIDIA on inference, making smaller, more efficient chips. I think we are still lagging behind, unfortunately, on our capacity to produce this kind of companies. But the reality is that those that are always making money, regardless of what happens, which model we use, it's NVIDIA and the infrastructure layer and the chip layer. So I think it's very important that in Europe we have this kind of companies, because otherwise we sit on the on the inference capacity of either the US or the Chinese. There's no
both
solution.
inference and LLMs, because at the end we are financing with our queries and data the US dominance anyway. So it's good news for Europe indeed.
Totally. Let's see. We probably have to get in touch with them and get them a lot of Novas under it to Euclid, because the company, I like it a lot.
No, they're strong, and I knew it from earlier. And I think there are some champions even out of Italy. This other one is called iGenius, rebranded to Domin. They are basically adapting LLMs for high security cases, and they're also growing fast. So we're seeing early champions, but let's see, the race is long. So let's see if Anthropic will own the entire LLM space, or there is space for more.
Totally. I think there probably governments will push to have national champions or these European champions. We're seeing it also with Multiverse, for instance. There's got a lot of investment around Europe. It's a Spanish company that does, I think they used to do quantum computing, and now they shifted to do model compression. So they basically take models, like the most intelligent models, and make them more efficient for companies to reduce the cost of inference. I think it's very cool to have these deep tech companies that are European based, hiring European talent, and I think those are the companies that we need to promote more.
Super.
Totally.
Yeah. Sure.
Maybe a few last ones on future of work and talent. There was an interesting podcast on Lenny's this week, where basically Nikhil Singhal, ex-Meta and ex-Google, was kind of discussing the future of product management. And in his view, basically, the whole way product managers used to operate is no longer, let's say, valid. And although there's actually a record apparently of open PM jobs, he's foreseeing big layoffs in the function that will be partially replaced with more AI native product managers that are not simply writing product requirements and defining what needs to be built and talking to customers to find their problems, but are also shipping early versions of products. I heard this metaphor that in the future of tech teams, there will be the pirates who will be product managers shipping very quick and very fast a solution that matches the need of the market. And then more, what were the engineers? I don't know what was the name they took, but they were more the sailors, let's say, that would make it so that companies could ship stable, robust, secure products. The pirates will be, let's say, exploring what needs to be built, and then the sailors, or I don't know what was the name they took.
It's a nice metaphor.
Yeah, I think it was a nice framework to think about this future where product and tech start to be very close to one another.
Indeed.
Any last piece of news from your side before we wrap it up for today?
I think for me was another news that was quite impressed by is that DeepSeek, the Chinese model that you might remember a year ago, sent waves because their model was apparently much cheaper to run and incredible results, which is still maybe to the level of 3.5 of Claude model. They're raising at a valuation of 10 billion, which is very small compared to the US premium. But it's also showing that in the moment of scale, even the cheapest models will need massive amount of money. So they're looking $1 billion or two to bring in. which again brings us to, we don't comment often the Chinese ecosystem because they're a bit more hidden, but I think we hopefully see some Chinese models entering despite the skepticism to push for lower prices and better capabilities. So they're still alive and they're still kicking. I think it was interesting to hear about them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, on your side, any reflections of the conversations? What do you bring with you?
Well, I mean, I think that it's always fruitful to talk about these topics. It's unbelievable how we see, and it's incredible how we see things are going, and that you just blink or you just go 1 week on vacation, you come back again, and the amount of news and things that happen, releases, new tools, it's something that could overwhelm you, but I think that it's also important that you can digest it and understand that although a lot of things are going on, you have to be clear on what are your needs right now, clarify what you will deliver to AI, what will your tasks be, and keep with this process and start using it more and more and more. I mean, there are a lot of phrases like this, but I would really use one of the most used ones, which is AI won't replace recruiters, but it will expose the average ones. And for me, this is the most important part, meaning obviously AI, meaning as artificial intelligence, I prefer to use it as augmented intelligence, is something that you have to integrate as a recruiter or as an HR professional in your daily work at a level that you decide, because it's different from person to person, okay? And I've seen it. The rhythm you use it or you integrate it is different, but anyway, it's something that you must use, you must continue using, you must be open to new tools. Obviously, when you have your HR role and you have a lot of tasks and it's hard to know all the tools and receive all the providers, but what's something really, really important here is that if you are part of a community and you can ask other recruiters and you can rely on them, and it's not that you have to use all the tools, but others will use it and will give their feedback also, and you will rely on it, and then we will all go in the same direction together. So that's the powerful of communities in the AI momentum, that you cannot test everything. And if you have to test one, just take Nova, definitely, because it will move the needle. But it's important more than ever, this community sense of listening from other people, listening also moments like this podcast webinar, and also being aware that a lot of things are going on, and obviously you cannot stop doing what you're doing just to be aware of everything that's happening. But if you can talk and you can share impressions with your colleagues, it will be much easier. So
we are big believers of that, as you know, Tiago, because that's why we do this signal, right? We try to curate and filter the noise a little bit for people. But in my case, what I take with me that I love from your insights is that there's a lot of tools out there, and those that will win are those that really make the life simple of HR leaders, and sometimes less is more. So there's a thin line into having too many tools or having the right tools. So that's something that I take with me for the way we inform our product building, that I liked. And then, as always, my lesson, I say more in the go-to-market or as a founder, is that shipping more and faster is what drives more attention. And I think Anthropic is giving us all a great lesson on how do you, if you want to keep appearing on the news and keeping up a lot of hype around your company, you have to simply accelerate the speed of shipping, because that's what users care about. Like more features, better features every week. What's the new distribution looks like.
Yeah. No, for me, I think you mentioned almost everything, but one keyword I bring with me from your reflection, Tiago, was integration. I think that's the keyword here, because in a present time where there are many tools, many LLMs, the world can take multiple paths. I think it's great to build that defensive edge by saying, by definition, I need to be either an integrator, so I am Anthropic that has MCPs to all the apps out there, or I'm integratable, so being on the other side of the spectrum where Nova Recruiter can be used from Anthropic, from OpenAI. It can integrate with tons of ATSs, because if we don't start with that principle in mind, we run the risk of being obsolete in a week time. So I think I'll bring with me that reflection you shared on integration, because I think is really important.
Completely.
Well, thank you, Tiago, for sharing this time with us. A pleasure.
Great pleasure.
And thanks to all of you listening, and see you next week on the next Signal. Have a great week.
Bye. Ciao.
On the good work. Thank you.